You're listening to a production of the National Media Archive. To learn more or volunteer, go to nationalmediaarchive.com.
If you've ever walked through a mall, you know that unmistakable aroma, pizza wafting from Sbarro. But here's the paradox while the smell is inviting, the taste, in my experience, often falls short. So why has Sbarro managed to stick around for decades in places like malls, airports, and even casinos? It's almost like they've become a fixture, whether or not people actually crave their food. Now, you might be thinking, isn't it just mediocre pizza riding on nostalgia? That's part of the story, but there's much more under the surface. Sbarro's journey is about bold business moves, risky strategies, and the ever-shifting landscape of American fast food. Let me take you back to where it all began, because understanding Sbarro's origin reveals how a simple family deli became synonymous with mall dining. Ready to dive in? We'll talk about immigrant dreams, business models, and the peculiar power of location. But first, have you ever wondered why some brands become mall legends, even if their food isn't top tier? Let's unravel that mystery. So, next time you pass a Sbarro, you might see more than just pizza. You'll see the story of survival, adaptation, and sometimes stubbornness in a changing world. Let's rewind to the 1950s. Picture Carmela and Gennaro Sbarro along with their 3 sons leaving Naples for Brooklyn. Why Brooklyn? It was a hub of Italian-American culture, a place where dreams felt possible even if they started small. Carmela worked as a seamstress, sewing doll clothes a niche market, but with surprising demand. Meanwhile, Gennaro and the boys got hands-on experience at local delis. Think of this as their boot camp for entrepreneurship, learning the ropes of food service and customer habits. After 4 years of saving and hustling, 1956 was their breakthrough. They opened their own Italian deli in Brooklyn. This wasn't just a store, it was the foundation of what would become a national chain. Their journey is what business historians call organic growth, meaning they built up slowly from the ground, not through outside investment or flashy marketing. Now, you might ask, what made their deli different from the thousands of others in New York? The answer lies in how they paid attention to what their customers really wanted, something most businesses overlook. Let me tell you, it's often the immigrant story grit, adaptability, and a willingness to work any angle that forms the backbone of so many iconic American brands. Sbarro's roots were sewn with that same thread. Sbarro's transformation from a deli to a pizza powerhouse wasn't planned, it was reactive. Customers would order deli foods, but instead of leaving, they'd eat right there, standing by the counter. That was the first clue. So Carmela added a few tables and chairs. Simple, right? But here's where it gets interesting. They noticed the steady stream of shift workers hungry, short on time, and looking for a quick meal. Carmela's solution? Start offering pizza by the slice. In business, this is called market fit, when your product matches what people actually need in their daily lives. The Sbarros didn't just make a good guess. They observed, adapted, and gradually shifted from deli to restaurant. Now, you're probably thinking, wasn't pizza always a no-brainer in New York? True, but selling it by the slice for immediate eating was their twist. It's like the difference between selling shoes and inventing the sneaker. That accidental pivot set the stage for Sbarro's future quick, convenient, and tailored to the bustling foot traffic that would one day define mall dining. By the 1970s, Sbarro faced a big question. How do you grow without franchising? Most fast food giants like McDonald's use franchise models, letting others open stores under their name to spread quickly. But the Sbarro family wanted control. Their solution? The food court. Malls were exploding in popularity, and food courts offered a unique business environment. Sbarro's locations were compact, about the size of a home garage, which kept costs down. In business terms, this is called low overhead, meaning fewer expenses for rent and staff. But there was another advantage: exposure. Unlike standalone restaurants, food court spots guaranteed thousands of people would see the Sbarro sign every day. That's what marketers call footfall advertising. People see your brand just by walking past. You might ask, didn't limited space hurt their menu? Yes, but it forced them to streamline fewer menu items, faster service. This made Sbarro synonymous with grab-and-go pizza, especially for busy mall shoppers. It's a classic example of turning a constrained small space into a competitive advantage. Sbarro wasn't just in malls, it became part of the mall experience itself. For decades, the Sbarro family resisted the franchise model. They preferred to own and operate every store themselves. This approach gave them total control, what business strategists call vertical integration. But it came with big challenges, slower growth, and higher financial risk. In 1985, that changed. After Gennaro's passing, the family took Sbarro public, selling 30% of the company for $8 million. That cash infusion was used to launch a franchising system, something they'd avoided for 20 years. Now, franchising is like letting others use your blueprint to build their own stores, paying you fees and royalties. It's a proven way to scale fast. Just look at Subway or KFC. For Sbarro, it doubled their locations in just 3 years. But here's the twist. Even with franchising, about half of new stores stayed under company ownership. It's as if Sbarro tried to walk both paths at once: control and rapid expansion. Was it the best of both worlds, or a recipe for confusion? If you're weighing business models, Sbarro's story offers a cautionary tale. Sometimes, compromise means carrying the risks of both approaches without reaping the full rewards of either. The 1990s were a golden era for Sbarro. Their mix of owned and franchise stores fueled a rapid climb. By decade's end, they boasted 800 locations. This period is what business analysts call scaling up, expanding infrastructure to serve more customers without losing efficiency. But here's the catch. Sbarro's growth hit a ceiling. They never surpassed 100 locations, even as competitors like Pizza Hut and Domino's raced ahead. The pizza market was getting crowded, and Sbarro's core advantage mall real estate was about to become a liability. You might wonder, why didn't they pivot sooner? Wasn't it obvious malls would decline? Hindsight is 20/20, but at the time, malls were still bustling. Sbarro kept using debt, borrowing money to fund expansion, a strategy that can work if sales keep rising. But with every new store, they increased their leverage. Business speak for the amount of debt compared to equity. High leverage can magnify success, but also disaster if sales drop. It's a lesson in business cycles. What works in a boom can become an anchor in a downturn. Sbarro's plateau set the stage for future struggles. In 2007, Sbarro's journey took a dramatic turn. The family sold the entire company to a private equity firm, Mid-Ocean Partners, for $450 million. Here's the kicker. Nearly half that price was financed with debt, a classic example of a leveraged buyout. Private equity often aims to streamline operations, cut costs, and flip companies for profit. But there's a dark side. Heavy debt loads can cripple a business if revenue falters. In Sbarro's case, annual interest payments soared to $30 million, a huge burden. You might be asking, why take on so much debt? The logic was simple. If Sbarro could keep growing, the debt wouldn't be a problem. But when the 2008 recession hit and mall traffic plunged, that calculation unraveled fast. This is where the technical term debt-to-equity ratio comes in. When it spikes, it signals a company is dangerously leveraged, meaning debt vastly outweighs the value of its assets. For Sbarro, that number reached alarming heights. It's a stark reminder. Financial engineering can fuel rapid expansion, but if the economic winds change, it can drag a company under just as quickly. Why did Sbarro stumble so badly after 2008? The answer is a perfect storm of convergence of multiple crises. First, the Great Recession hit. Consumer spending dropped, and mall foot traffic dried up almost overnight. Second, the very thing that once made Sbarro strong, their reliance on malls, became their Achilles heel. As malls declined, so did Sbarro's customer base. It's what economists call concentration risk, being too dependent on one channel or market. But that's not all. At the same time, the price of key ingredients, flour and cheese, spiked. In restaurant economics, this is called cost-push inflation. Even if sales held steady, profit margins shrank. You might say, couldn't they just raise prices? In theory, yes. But in a recession, customers are price sensitive, and Sbarro's quality wasn't compelling enough to justify higher costs. This toxic mix, falling sales, rising costs, crushing debt, left Sbarro with few options. The result? Bankruptcy filings in 2011 and again in 2014 as the company struggled to stay afloat. Let's address the elephant in the room. Sbarro's pizza just isn't that well loved. Many customers complain about taste and freshness. Why? The answer lies in the trade-off between throughput, how fast you can serve customers, and product quality. Sbarro's model relies on pre-made pizza slices for quick service. This is great for busy travelers, but it sacrifices flavor and texture. In business terms, it's a convenience-first model, but the downside is weak brand loyalty. Now, you might be thinking, couldn't they just make better pizza? The reality is, using fresher ingredients or baking to order slows down service, increases costs, and complicates operations, especially in small mall kitchens. Competitors like Pizza Hut and Domino's, with larger store footprints and delivery infrastructure, can balance speed and quality better. Sbarro, boxed into high-traffic locations, finds it tough to pivot. It's a classic business dilemma. You can optimize for convenience or for quality, but rarely boss specially if you lack the resources of larger chains. Sbarro's struggle with this trade-off is at the heart of their ongoing challenges. After bankruptcy, Sbarro tried to reinvent its self-moving headquarters from New York to Ohio, updating their logo and emphasizing fresher ingredients. They even launched a new chain of standalone restaurants focused on made-to-order pizza under a different name. This is what marketers call brand repositioning, an effort to change public perception and reach new customer segments. They also ditched the old Italian flag imagery for a modern pizza slice outline, signaling a shift away from tradition. But let's be honest, these changes have been incremental, not transformational. The core issues, mall dependence and the convenience, quality trade-off, remain largely unresolved. Outside of malls and airports, Sbarro struggles to compete with bigger, more flexible chains. You might ask, could a total overhaul save them? Maybe, but that requires capital, vision, and risk-taking on a scale Sbarro hasn't shown recently. For now, their few higher-quality pilot locations are just that, experiments. Will these efforts be enough? Only time will tell. Reinvention in the restaurant business is tough, especially when you're battling both perception and logistics. So, where does Sbarro go from here? The fast food industry is more competitive than ever. Giants like Domino's and Pizza Hut have scale, delivery tech, and brand power. Sbarro, with around 600 locations, is a fraction of their size, 10 times smaller, in fact. Their core market, malls and airports, is shrinking. The pizza market is flooded with options, from gourmet chains to delivery apps. Sbarro's best hope may be to double down on convenience, but that risks cementing a reputation for mediocrity. Now, let me ask you, if you were in charge, would you overhaul the menu, focus on new locations, or try a bold technology play like pizza vending machines? Each path has risks. None guarantees success. It's a crossroads moment, and Sbarro's fate will depend on their willingness to rethink everything from product to place to purpose. Maybe the answer isn't just better pizza, but a whole new way to connect with customers. I want to hear your ideas. What would you do if you ran Sbarro? Because in this business, survival means constant reinvention. The next chapter is still unwritten,